Hello. Welcome to the ROM's first Google Hangout. I'm Dave Ireland, sitting here with my friend Burton Lim, assistant curator of mammals here at the ROM, and this is our first time doing a Google Hangout. So be patient with us. I'm going to give you a bit of a heads up on why we're doing it, what the sort of the outline is for the day, and then I'm going to get right into it with Burton and a few questions. So April 2013. Is all about biodiversity at the ROM. We've got programs every Tuesday and Thursday, more of these Google Hangouts. We've got a major youth conference at the end of the month with a partner from Earth Day Canada. We've got the Endangered Species Act conference at the beginning of the month, and a debate in our theatre on April 7th between Ontario Nature and the Ministry of Natural Resources. I shouldn't say debate, more of a discussion. I get more into that maybe later. But today we're on location here at Crestwood Public School in the valley up near Bayview and Post Road. The Crestwood School is a big supporter of the Earth Rangers in school program, which we're partner with, and in fact we're doing a program with them today. Burton and I helped write some curriculum for the Earth Rain. Can you hear us? So Burton and I are office mates down in mammalogy, and I've known him for a couple of years now. My biggest question for you, Burton, is
to me is something that sort of keeps me going, drives me.
Yeah, and you've been a part of the. We're going to get.
Such as myself, but there's other people. There's an environmental lawyer. There's a criminology professor at the University of Ottawa. Been keeping track.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm gonna ask this question fairly ignorantly. Then, of the seven, of the four that I've read, I think only one really concentrated on. Of the seven, how many were about your research, and how many were about biodiversity research in general?
Only one was specifically about my own research, a field trip to Guyana about 10 years ago. There was one story about bats, white nose syndrome, but that's not really my area of expertise. I knew about it, and I know about bats, and I like bats, but that again wasn't my area of expertise, but I knew about it. And then all the other stories, I did a couple of stories on the brain for the Globe. Yeah, so I'm getting the full breadth of sort of journalism training. So I, write stories that I find myself. But sometimes when I'm in the newsroom, when I was in the newsroom at the Globe, my editor actually assigned me to do like sidebar stuff. So I think that was another interesting thing about this journalism program is that it gave me the full breadth of what it's like to be in the newsroom. So I was doing other stuff that I necessarily don't have an interest in, but that was cool.
Yeah. Your most recent one was about barcoding, and I know we've got easily a half dozen researchers at the ROM who are heavily invested with Polly Bear and the Guelph Institute for barcoding. How's that project going? How's Paul doing? Is it? Are we still on track to barcode all of life by 2020?
Well, I think Paul everyday life, such as sort of checking up on seafood products, hamburger products, and make sure that what we're eating is actually as advertised on the packaging, on the labels. So that's one of the practical applications that I don't think Paul was really thinking down that. I think he was thinking more scientific. So this was sort of a spin-off that I think makes it all worthwhile for him, is that there's something that happened that he didn't expect to happen.
Mr. October, please go to the main office. October, main office, please.
Oh, it's been a while since I've been called down to the office.
That was me. Back to the principal's office.
I've sat a few times out in front of that space. So let's take a big step back for a sec, Burton. You said 1.5 million species is what Paul is looking to barcode. I know, there's probably between 10 million and 100 million species on Earth. Maybe 100 of them a day are going extinct. Some estimates are that high. What is the state of biodiversity globally right now, and should the public be concerned about biodiversity loss?
The thing with the biodiversity loss is that a lot of the stuff that is being lost, we don't know anything about. Not so much in my area of specialty like mammals or bats, but if you look at insects, so a lot of that estimate of 10 to 100 million species, a lot of that, big chunk of that, over half of that is probably insects. So a lot of these predicted estimates of losses is stuff that we don't even know about. So I think one of the many things that we have to work on is finding out what's out there. So people know about it, hopefully trying to save it. So I think that's sort of one of the first steps I think we need to take, is to find out what biodiversity is out there, because the estimate is like a fraction of what we know.
And that's a great segue into what we do at the ROM. From my perspective, what we do at the ROM is we discover biodiversity, and we understand how biodiversity is connected to everything else. And we try and describe to people that the connectivity in nature is what sustains us: our air, our water, our soil. Do you think natural history museums play a role in advocating for biodiversity conservation, or do we stick to our guns and make the primary research focus the aim of our programs and our projects?
I think things are changing. I'll use like my own work as an example. I started off, I got interested in this, sort of biology and evolution, sort of the peer research aspect of it. How are things related to each other? Where are things found and why are they there? But a lot of the biodiversity survey work that I do now, I found is also useful for like environmental assessments. So people now are coming to me, so I've done a lot of work in South America, like Guyana and Suriname. So people know I have a particular expertise in an area, so they're asking me to sort of collect biodiversity information, which is what I do for the museum. But essentially, I use that information for sort of evolutionary biology research. But I also realize that I can use that data for also environmental assessments, looking at the biodiversity. So I'm trying to use the same, so I really haven't changed, my biodiversity survey techniques, but now I'm just using it for, two sort of different areas of study. But I think, both of them also have, something in common, is that it's based on the same data. So now I'm trying to, look at both of those sort of research areas, one looking at sort of the evolution and one looking at sort of the pure biodiversity for, environmental assessments.
Yeah, interesting. So you've got a big year planned. I know last year you went to Guyana with an EVC student, and you captured a lot of that footage, and we got some great stories to tell from it. But this year we're going to Mulu.
Yes.
Where's Mulu?
Mulu is on the island of Borneo. Yeah, so Mulu is that part of Borneo. So it's part of the Malaysian part of Borneo. So Malaysia is on sort of the mainland of Southeast Asia, but they have about a quarter of the northwest part of the island of Borneo, and then there's a little country called Brunei that's sort of in the middle, on the coast in the middle, but then maybe 3/4 of Borneo is actually part of Indonesia. So I'll be going to the state of Sarawak, so sort of the northwest part, and then Mulu is this mountain. Essentially, it's a national park that's based around this mountain that is 2,400 meters in elevation. Okay. So the idea is to do an elevational transect going up to the top of this mountain and seeing how the species diversity, how the relative abundance of, from in my case, mammals, how that changes as you go up in elevation. But there's also an entomologist on the trip and a mycologist. So they'll be doing essentially the same type of thing. So this way we'll be able to not only compare the differences in what species are found in different elevations, but we can also compare between the different groups. Is the mammals the same as the insects?
Yeah.
Is that the same as the mushrooms, the fungus? Yeah, so it's a joint project. And I think in total, there's probably getting close to about 10 people from the ROM.
It's a big trip.
Yeah,
it's a big trip.
Yeah.
In fact, a few of us were together on Friday night. Can you describe to our viewers what we were doing Friday night in town here?
Well, the entomologist, Chris Darling, he's been to Mulu, I think, 3 times, and John Mark has been there 2 times. So they just wanted, so this will be the first time I'll be at Mulu. I've been to the Indonesian part of Borneo, but that was like 20 years ago, a while ago. Yeah, so essentially he just wanted to get all the team together, but he also had a theme for the party, and it was based around eating in a longhouse.
So just to describe to everybody very quickly, this entire team converged on Chris Darling's house Friday night, where we had food from all over Indonesia, and we sat on the floor cross-legged on bamboo.
Yeah. Well, I didn't last the whole night. I had to get up.
No, you were the first one to
sit
get up.
on a bench. But yeah, so I'm building up to actually doing that in the field.
But there's a real sense of a team here. There's a real sense that group of 10 plus the videographers, my wife came, everybody's partners came. There was a real sense of sending this group off to, the heart of Borneo, like a really undiscovered area, to do what we do best, find biodiversity, understand how it fits in, and then feed this information to people who are managing what is a rapidly declining series of environments on that island.
Yeah, there was a study that was done about 30 years ago. So essentially we're like the second wave, but it's we can also compare, the information we get, between different elevations or between different groups. We also can compare it. So if they didn't document their information, want to also be able to document our stuff, so someone else can go back. Hopefully not 30 years later, but maybe 5 or 10 years later, to see how things have changed, and if they have changed, try to answer the question on why did they change.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys, just to round out Mulu, the team at different points. May 24th, make sure you dial in to the first ever Curator's Corner, which is happening during a Friday Night Live. So usually our Curator's Corner program, which is a family-oriented program where we bring our curators out, you can have chat with them, we talk about the recently found or the projects they're working on. This is happening at 8 p.m. for a
Back to Guyana in July. So this would be the third year of this monitoring project that Josh, the EBC project. So again, the idea is to sample the same places at the same time of year, year after year. And again, to sort of track to see, you know, if we can see any patterns of change. And again, if we do, then we'll have to sort of in the specific field of study.
Yeah.
So that trip is an ongoing thing. So I'll be going on the 3rd.
And just for our viewers, I don't know how many you are out there, but if you go onto the ROM website, you go onto the Center for Biodiversity page, there is a video link. Probably easiest just to go to YouTube, look up Guyana and Burton Lim. We've got a great video of trip last year with the Operation Wallacea students. And with Josh C. from our EDC program here at the ROM in partnership with Fleming College. So there's a really nice video that tells that story quite well with a bunch of visuals in the background. So I think we're going to segue now, Burton. I just wanted to quickly give our audience a bit of a heads up on what we're about to do. So Burton and I and our education department, Scott McDonald and some other folks at the ROM, worked with our partners at Earth Rangers to develop a curriculum-based program. So it's explicitly linked to the grade 6 curriculum, which is about biodiversity. And we developed an in-school activity where the Earth Rangers team presents some facts about biodiversity. Then they focus in on bats, and they focus in on Burton's work in Guyana, and even in the Rouge Park here, where we've done a BioBlitz last year. We're doing another one, and we've documented all the bat species there. So the students then get this interactive sort of workshop for about 40 minutes, where they learn about biodiversity through bats as an example. But today, they get a special surprise, because not every school gets this. It goes to about 200 schools a year. But today, this very special school, Crestwood here, gets to see Burton at the end of the show. So we should see some real excitement when they go, hey, he was on the video screen. Hey, now he's right here. So that's what we're going to try and move now from here into the gymnasium, and hopefully you all stay connected. And Burton, don't go anywhere, because you're going to go on stage with a bunch of kids in a second.
Good.
All right, shall we try and move this? Oh, you gotta follow us.
Gotta move.
Going through the school, grade 6.
down the middle. So it should look like this. Yeah, we just want the crease. That's why we folded it again. Perfect. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take one corner and you're going to fold it up the middle seam so that it meets up with the top, so that you can create kind of a, I don't know what shape this is, but it should fold right up the seam. Then you're going to go to the other side so that you have a diamond. That's okay. So you've got this. You're going to take this corner. You're going to fold it up right down the middle seam. Perfect. Perfect. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other side. Oh, we just want this. You want it to look like a diamond. You're doing good. Okay, go to the next step. So this is what we just folded up. We're going to take the top tip here. We're going to fold it back down. So we've got this tip here that we just folded up. We're going to take it and we're going to fold it down. Perfect. And then once you've got that folded, you're going to do the same thing with the other side. So that you have something that looks like this. Perfect. Perfect. All right, so now this fold is going to, this is the second hardest fold in the entire batch. So listen very carefully. I'm going to show you, and then we'll come around and we'll help you. So we've got these pieces folded down. We're going to take this top edge, and we are going to fold it so that it meets up with the bottom edge. So this top edge, you're going to fold it so that it meets up with the bottom edge of your diamond. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. So this one's a little tricky, but we'll come around. So you've got this edge, you're going to fold it so that it lines up with the bottom. And then do the same thing on the other side. Perfect. This edge. On both sides, yeah. Perfect. Alright, how's it going? Perfect. I'm just going to quickly. We almost there? Everybody got it? Alright, so that's the second hardest one. There's one more hard fold. The rest are pretty easy. Give me 1 second. Alright, so everybody has those folded bits. What you're going to do is you want the folded pieces, you want to place them flat on the ground. So you have your folded pieces flat on the ground, with the folded pieces facing you. Alright. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the top, and you're going to fold it down, so that you have a small triangle that looks like this. I know there's a lot of triangles in this. Perfect. Alright, that looks like, I think it looks like one of those Pillsbury turnovers. Yeah. And then I take the top. Perfect, and then hold it all the way down. Alright, the next step is the two pieces of paper that you just folded down. We're going to take those, and you're going to fold them halfway back up. So that you have another triangle that's sticking up over the top. So you've just taken this, and you want to fold it like that.
quite a while. It's a 10-minute portion of the curriculum package that we've created, which is about 45 minutes long. Before this, Earth Rangers does a lot of live animal encounters and talks about biodiversity. And then in the latter part, they get into more of the work of ROM. So we came in right at the folding activity, so stay tuned.
And you're going to just make a small little hole like that. Doesn't matter. This is your nose, so you can make it as big as you want or as little as you want. Alright, so once we have our small little holes, we found the hardest hole of the entire batch. So, everybody squat. Really, really carefully, and then do it afterwards. So, you've got this shape here. You're going to take this far corner, and you are going to fold it up the middle seam, so that it meets up with the top of your nose. I know. Your final shape should look like this. So Dan and I will come around. Yeah, come on. All right, so you got the leg. And your legs will pop out. So as you lift, it'll pop out. Yes. And then do the same thing with the other side. So So just nice and gentle. We're all sharp, so you'll be able to drop. Don't press too hard. So what we're going to do is before we draw on our back, we need to know which is its back and which is its belly, because we want to draw on its belly. So everybody see the head, the part with the little flaps? That's its back. So I want you to put it down on the ground, belly up.
Pencils?
So put it on the ground, put
Put it on the main object, pencil.
and you want the head facing me. So you want it belly up with its head facing me. Perfect. On it belly up. On it belly up. Alright. Perfect. So, everybody has your pencil. First goal. So you're going to do, for the first line, sorry, we're going to draw a spine. So everybody line a crease down the middle and draw a line that goes right down the middle crease. So we got a spine. Alright, so then we're going to draw on the collarbones and the arm bones. So, at the very top, you're going to draw 2 circles with lines that go right across the top, right out to the tips. 2 circles under the collarbones and 2 arm bones that go all the way across to the tips of the wings. Other legs, okay? All the way to the tips of the wings. From side. Yeah, line out to the tips. Perfect. It helps to sharpen it, but don't pull this straight. Alright, next part is we have to draw on the ribs. They have 8 ribs on each side. So underneath the collarbone, you want to draw 8 ribs on each side. But don't do them the whole way down the spine because we still need to draw on the hip bones. So you want it to take up maybe half of the body. So small little lines will show you. So you want it to look like this. 8 on each side. So tiny little lines. Because you need to fit in 8. 8 on each side. So you have to do very tiny lines. Okay. What's going on here? Honestly, it took me like 15 tries to get this right. So now we have the ribs. We want to draw on these hip bones and the leg bones. So we're going to draw 2 circles for the hip bones, and then we want to draw a line across and down to where the tip is. So across and down. Oh, I think maybe then do the same thing on the other side. Okay? Here's the first leg. Here's the leg. We want 2 hip bones, across and down. Okay. Now that we have our hip bones and our legs, we're going to draw on the wings. Bones and the wings. Listen very carefully, okay? This is the most important part of your drawing. 5 of you want 4. What? How many rabbits do you have? There's only 4 out there. Oh, no. All right, they're pretty sensitive. Okay, now you should have something that looks like this. Something like this. We have the basic outline of our bats. Now I want to talk about just how amazing their wings are. So they have very, very thin skin that covers very, very thin bones, and they're actually very similar to the bones that we have in our hands. But we have 5 bones in our hands, between our fingers and our thumb. They only have 4. So which one do you think the bat is missing? The thumb. They don't appear to have a thumb. But you know what they have? They actually have a very special claw. You can see in this picture the claw sticks up right up on top of their wings. They use this claw to maneuver up around rocks and cliffs and up the side of their caves. And they also use this claw to manipulate fruit and other different types of food as they're eating. So very similar to the thumb. Now, you can see that they have very thin skin. That skin is actually the same thickness as, saran wrap or plastic wrap that you use in your kitchen. That is how thin the skin is in their wings. So, seeing how thin it is, where do you think they would keep their muscles? Where do you think? Yeah, in their body. So they have very, very strong muscles in their chest that help to pull their wings down. They have very, very strong muscles in their back that help bring their wings up. It's pretty amazing. So we learned a little bit about bats. You guys have been able to make your bats. Now your bat doesn't look 100% because it doesn't have a face and it doesn't have claws and it doesn't have feet. So what we've done is we've given some stickers to your teachers so that you can complete your bat and either get back to class or you can get home tonight so that it'll look like this. That's finished bat. You take it home and put it up as a room if you want. A little memory of visiting with us at our creatures. Before you, I just don't want to leave you with these stickers because sometimes it's a bit confusing. It looks like there's 4 feet and there's 4 claws, but there's not. So when you peel it, it comes off as 1. So what it is the idea is to put 1 on top and 1 on the bottom and squeeze them together so that there's no sticky part showing. So there's the feet and then there's the claws. And we've given your teacher a diagram or an extra so that you can know exactly where to put the feet and exactly where to put the claws. No, this is a bat. Yeah, we just had a generic bat. You can name them whatever you want. Alright, so a little bit about that. But now I want to just recap. So who can tell me one arrow? Who can tell me one of the 3 adaptations that a bat has? One of the 3 wings. Wings, so what does it help them do? Fly. They have wings to fly, to get around, to maneuver, to find food. Absolutely. It's another one. Echolocation, they send those signals out and it bounces off objects and comes back to their ears. That allows them to find food and know where they're going and objects and get around. What's the third one? The thumbs are the claws. They use these claws to maneuver up around on rocks, to get around, as well as to manipulate food. Good job.
Alright, so like you said, we developed this program as well from our friends at the Royal Ontario Museum. Now, you guys have been to the museum, right?
Yeah.
Museum is a great place to visit, but it's not just a spot where we get to see lots of skeletons and fossils and suits of armor and things like that. The museum is actually a place where a lot of people go to work and study and do a lot of research into things just like that. In fact, one of the friends that we had who helped us develop this program works at the museum. His name is Howard. He's been doing a lot of work studying bats, specifically a creature called Diana. He's been for about 20 years, researching all the different types of bats. Look at that. See? The kind of research that he does involves catching some of these bats using this net, valves of caves. That's why at night they get stuck in the nets, and that gives the researchers an opportunity to study how many different species of bats there are and how many of each species are currently in the ecosystem. Because bats do so much important work with pollinating flowers and keeping the plant communities healthy, what's really cool is that by studying all of these different types of bats that they have in Guyana, we can actually make predictions about how the ecosystem ecosystem and trying to figure out which way the ecosystem might be changing, just by seeing the different numbers of bats that we have in a given year. Now, if you're interested in learning even more about bats, a great place to go at the museum is actually the bat cave. Yeah. I love the bat cave. So this will give you an idea of what it's like to have all those different adaptations and try to survive inside those cave habitats that bats spend a lot of time in. When you go to the bat cave, you can also head down the hall and check out the Shad Biodiversity Life Information Gallery. This gallery is a lot of fun because it gives you a really easy way to travel and visit different biomes around the world and get a better understanding of how biodiversity is at risk because of human activities. Because see, as adaptable and incredible as mammals are, a lot of them are at risk. As an example, here in Canada, we have about 194 species of mammals. These are all Canadian mammals here. But 68 of those species of mammals are considered to be species at risk. And in fact, some of those species that have been doing so well recently are actually bats. And here in Southern Ontario, we have about 8 different species of bats, but over the last few years, several of those species have had 90% decline in their population. It's a huge drop. For a while there, scientists weren't quite sure what was causing the problem. But after lots of research and study, we determined that the problem was a disease called white nose fungus. And we're currently working on a way to help fix this problem and keep bats healthy and alive. And so we're going to be optimistic about this kind of work because there's lots of other cases where we didn't know what the problem was, but by being committed and positive and solutions to problems, we were able to discover what's going on out in the environment and fix it before it was too late. And just to prove this is we'd like to introduce you to an old friend of ours, one that you met earlier today, who is the once again Sonic.
Alright. So you guys met Sonic earlier, but couldn't tell me what's different. It's who remembers a barn owl. He is a barn owl, and he's actually a European barn owl. So barn owls can be found on every single continent except Antarctica. But here in Canada, the only places that you can find barn owls are in Southern Ontario and British Columbia. Now they like to live in barns, like their name suggests. But they also like to live in those old growth forests, usually overlooking a large open area. And just like the peregrine that we learned about earlier today, we came very, very close to losing barn owls. And again, it wasn't hundreds, thousands, or millions of years ago. It was only within the past 40 years or so that we almost lost barn owls. Now the main reason that they came so close to disappearing was because of habitat loss. So those old growth forests that they rely on for shelter in winters were disappearing, and it was making it much more difficult for them to survive. But you know what? There was really good news. People realized what was going on and they took action. And again, it wasn't just governments and conservation groups. It was earth rangers like you and I who had a real passion for animals and wanted to make a difference. And because of all their hard work, barn owls have actually made quite a recovery here in Ontario. See, at one point there was only 5 documented sightings per year. That's it. But because of all of the hard work of earth rangers, they have made an amazing recovery, and they're up to 10 documented breeding trips. So they still have a long way to go, but they're proof that when we all work together, we can be a part of creating some amazing success stories.
We're going to give this one a big round of applause. Now, it's true, we've been partying almost all day, but it's really, really good lessons to take away, and it's a positive one, moreover, that when we come together and decide to make positive change, we can really positively affect the future of animals. That's why we're here today, to let all of you know that you have a chance to help with these for animals. So hang on to it, and then the next time you guys have a day that you want to spend at the museum, you'll be able to get in cheap and see all the amazing galleries that we just talked about and celebrate the work that all of these amazing scientists have done to help protect the wildlife as well. Now, as a special guest, we actually do have a very important visitor with us today. Remember
Pleasure to be here. I was just going to answer any questions that you may have about bats. But maybe I'll start with my own question. So who knows, how many species of bats do you think there are in the world? How many different kinds of bats?
1,000?
That's close, a little bit higher. A little bit lower than that. Yeah. A little bit higher than that. Less than that. That is close enough, I think. It's about 1,200. Even I don't know exactly the number because people are doing new discoveries, finding new species. But there's about 1,200 different species of bats in the world. So most people, sometimes they might go down to like a field to Guyana. I'll ask people how many species of bats do you think there are? There's vampire bats. So they think when they see bats flying around that they think they're all the same species. But when I catch them in my net, then I show them up close, is that they don't realize there's a lot of differences. Because a lot of times when bats are flying around, you really can't see them very clearly, so you think one bat is the same as the next bat. But there's 1,200 different species of bats. Do you guys have any questions for me about bats? Yeah.
Do you think bats are good bugs?
For good luck? Well, in some cultures, they are good luck. But usually in Canada or the US, people think bats are bad because people think they're vampire bats that drink your blood. But I told you there's 1,200 species of bats. How many of those species do you think are vampire bats? Well, that's getting close. There's only 3 of them. There's only 3 of the 1,200 species of vampire bats. Only one of them is very common. The other 2 are not that common. There's 3 in total. They're only found from Mexico into Central America into South America, so they're safe in. Yeah. Yeah, there are. So for a vampire bat, yes, so the vampire bat, it feeds on blood. So when it actually gets closer on top of an animal it's going to feed on, it can find out where the blood vessels are. That's this way you can go right, that's the right area. Yeah. The biggest type of bat is.
Oh, I just don't know.
That's the biggest one in South America. The biggest one in the world. Yes, but there are a lot of different species. There's about 80, close to 100 species of flying foxes. So the biggest one, if you pull the wings from tip to tip, might be about that long. The head body, about that long. And so it weighs about maybe a kilogram. So those are the biggest, and so those are found in Southeast Asia. So it's found on a lot of the islands that are found like Indonesia, across New Guinea. That part of Southeast Asia is where one possible is that. Any other questions? Yes, way in the back.
The flying foxes. Is there a type of tree that they're killing off or something in Australia? Because they're all sort of clustered together on one type of tree and it's aggravating the locals?
I don't think it's killing off any species. It will end up killing that particular tree that they're living in, but again, that will be over 20, 30, 40, 50 year period. So the big flying foxes, they're a little bit different from other bats. A lot of bats will live in caves or right in the forest. A lot of the flying foxes will live in a big tree in an open area. They'll hang from the tree and they'll disturb the tree. So a lot of times that particular tree, the leaves will start falling off, and eventually that tree might end up just dying because the trees need leaves for photosynthesis. But again, it's a very long-term process, and it's really just the individual country, so the bats aren't responsible for any species going extinct. Particular trees will eventually die. But again, that's a long period of time that happens. Okay. That is a great, tough question. And I can't answer it specifically. What's the question? The question is, what is the most common species of bat? And I have to say, I don't know. I've been in certain areas where some bats are definitely more common than others. So usually when I go to the area that I work in, I can tell you which is the commonest bat after a few nights of catching bats. Whether that's the most common bat in the whole world, I don't know. But usually in an area, like one or two are very common. The other ones aren't as common. You sort of catch them kind of not every night. Yes. Another good question. My question is, what is my favorite kind of bat? What's that? I said diamond, no. Okay. So it's actually a group of bats. It's not a particular species, but it's the family of bat. It's my favorite because I made my research. A group of bats called sheep-tailed bats. So these bats are very small. Head body about that long, and wing about that long. These are insect-eating bats. But they're not hot. They're difficult to catch because of the flying behavior. So they're not fast flyers, and they're fairly small bats. So sometimes they fly around the also butterflies. So a lot of times when we put nets up to catch the bats, they're so small and they don't fly very strong that they'll brush up against the net and then fly off. So I study them because very few other people have studied. I want to know more about it. So that's it. I must say I like the replication. Yeah, so other animals they fly. So birds fly, insects fly, pterodactyls flew, and that's fly too. The other one, as you guys know, is echolocate. There's other animals echolocate, also whales echolocate. Some birds, they'll make sounds that echolocate in the cave. The bats echolocate the best. It's the most sophisticated. So if you just think about it, bats have to fly around. Not only have to fly around, but they can fly around at night. So essentially, the bats have to see with their ears. So I find that I had trouble walking at night. So these animals are flying around at faster than I walk. So, yeah. Yes, all bats are nocturnal. I can't remember when I came in on your presentation, but not all bats echolocate. I'm not sure if you said that or not. A lot of the big flying foxes, again, some of them will make a clicking noise. So it's a noise that we can hear. So echolocation is noise or sounds that are higher frequency that we can't hear. So you can get special machines that lowers sounds so we can hear it. But their echolocations are so high that we can't hear them. Their ears are tuned to it. There's a group of bats, most of the flying foxes, they don't have that sophisticated echolocation. So all bats are nocturnal. Not all bats are echolocated.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the ones that use their eyesight.
Yeah. Flying foxes, they use their eyesight more than they do. Yes. Well, a lot of times the moths will listen for the bats to echolocate, and when they hear the bats echolocating, a lot of times they'll be flying around, and when they hear a bat echolocating, you know it's getting closer, and a lot of times they'll just stop flying, just drop. So that is one of their tactics of avoiding bats.
So they'll be flying around to hear that locating, and then they'll stop flying so those drop the gravity. And hopefully that's enough and that can catch them. So the moths have this adaptation to go and get away. That's a key. Well, a lot of times the bats, they will eat more than just one particular type of food. But again, it's thinking about that will evolve over time. So it won't be enough that all bats starve. But the bats, they picked up this adaptation to avoid the bats. Now the bats have to find a way of, getting a little smarter. So maybe the bats, all bats see, they have eyes. So the bats, they might be able to stop applicating when they see the bat. So again, each animal is trying to, outsmart the other one. So moths, they'll try to outsmart the bats, like, stop flying and dropping. So some bats, they don't have to applicate all the time. So if they see that a lot of bats and a lot of moths are doing this, they'll stop applicating by ice. So it's a game that both predators and prey. So it's a fine balance. That I don't know. Usually the bats, they just hunt on their own. And a lot of times it's really just hit and miss. So a lot of times the bat will applicate for a big swarm. So again, this is another adaptation. Is that if you go to like into a small town where there's either one or only several street lights, so a lot of insects go to the light. So the bats, as an adaptation, they'll go to where food is. So a lot of the bats will feed around where the light sources are, that's the insects are. So that is a case more of just, they'll just fly through and it's hoping that they'll catch a bat, but then they'll catch a moth. So instead of zeroing on one particular one, they'll go through the swarm. Hopefully they'll catch one out of those and try to chase after one.
Alright, I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions for Dr. Lynn.
Yes.
How do you ever call
Yes, well, that one bat you mentioned, the scarecrow bat.
Back on my phone.
There is probably 3 or 4 other species that are carnivorous. So they'll eat frogs, mice, some also eat other bats. Yes. Actually, I think the flying foxes, they actually get pretty good at bats. I know one person that has a few that he uses. He actually uses it for teaching purposes too. But they're actually quite docile. So they actually not all flying foxes, some particular species, small ones. and they're also easier to feed because a lot of the bats are insect feeding bats. So it's harder to try to feed them, whereas feeding bats is easier to feed them.
Alright, well, I want, on behalf of first graders, to thank you for coming, and I think Dr. Lynn deserves a big round of applause. Well, everybody enjoy your bats. You get to take home. You have a story to tell about first graders and the these times on the phone. So have a wonderful day. Your teacher has your forms.
So on behalf of Burton and Ryan, everybody else, thanks for hanging out with us on Google Chats. Nice work, Burton.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.